I mean, I'm here with Chicago recording artist Zanyia. How are you doing today?
There you go. I'm doing well, thank you.
um, so you're from Chicago originally?
I grew up in Texas, but I've lived here for like the past 13 years, and this is just immediately became home. Like from the moment I got to this city, it was everything. It was life, and I don't think I'd be the artist today had I lived anywhere else. So yeah, this is definitely home.
Yeah. Texas has a great music scene as well. Growing up in Texas, did you have hip hop? Like, did that change like the style of music that you like? You feel?
Um, I think I've always just had like a really in-depth connection to hip hop in general. And I don't think that I know a lot of people say it has to do with city and location, but I think it's really just a spiritual thing, something that's like connected with the music. Honestly, I think being in Chicago has really helped me to elevate, the passions and the things that I've always felt that I had already. I think it's really taken me to, a higher level artistically just because of all the talent out here. So yeah, it definitely changed in a good way coming here. Yeah.
Right. It is a lot of talent in the Chicago music scene. I'm from Chicago myself. And I'm very familiar with a lot of the artists from Chicago. And I'm really proud of the music that you're putting out and the content and your focus on
Mm,
promoting image for women. Specifically, I feel sex is predominantly what a lot of female artists rely on.
yes, absolutely. And that's been something that I've kind of wanted to put a stop to. I mean, I don't think that it's wrong to express your sexuality in any way. I just think at this point, I think it's gotten a lot really out of hand. You know what I mean? Like it's
Well,
super explicit.
it's a handicap. I feel a lot of times, and I don't need to name any artists because people know who they are, and they're selling these overly explicit images, that aren't
Hmm.
necessarily appropriate, especially when their listeners are young children, and then they promote it to
Exactly.
kids. So it's
Hmm.
just a irresponsibility, and it's not doing anything to help the community, and people accept it like it's okay.
Yeah, and I find it funny how, how women of color are portrayed in the media, why that's just so normal to objectify women of color and why we accept that. And I think women in our own communities need to be the ones to speak up and say, look, that's a portion of the story, but we don't want to be fully represented that way every time, we're releasing music or doing anything involving art. And I think about myself as a kid and, looking at the women that I emulated. And I just couldn't picture myself seeing the type of women that I'm seeing in the media today and aspiring to be that, knowing that that's probably not likely or possible, so let's make it a little more attainable for girls to be like, that could be me. You don't have to be this luxurious model or with a BBL and the longest weave to be considered beautiful, and I think that's something that children really need to understand. Yeah.
When I think of the music industry, I think of misogyny. There's, a lot of males, in power positions, and at times, I've seen guys use their positions as producers or engineers or whatever, to manipulate young girls. Is
Hmm.
that something that you've seen or you've been aware of, being moving through music?
Oh, it's definitely difficult, being a woman in the industry, especially, in this male dominated area. And it comes up, you know, men like to flirt, men like to shoot their shot. And I think it's just up to women to kind of set those boundaries and let those barriers be known from the gate. But, sometimes if you do that, you're called the B word, that they, oh, she doesn't want to have any fun. She's boring. But it's just it's hard because dudes don't do that to each other. You know what I mean? If a dude comes in the studio, you're not all in his face complimenting his outfit. It's there's such a double standard in this, and it's definitely hard, but you do have to have thick skin to be able to navigate through that.
Definitely. What is one of the biggest obstacles you face as an independent artist?
Um, I think the biggest thing for me is just knowing when to focus on one thing. Because I'm always writing and there's always an idea in my head. And so it's like ADHD, right? You write one song and you love it and you're letting everybody hear about it. And then the next week you do it again. And then now you want everyone to hear about this one. And it's like sometimes you have to appreciate what the one thing that you've created and really, put your eggs and your investment behind that instead of just constantly throwing stuff out there. Yeah. Because that's me all the way, all the way.
Most definitely. Uh, you have like some incredible music. I was listening to Same Languages, and I thought that was
Yeah.
what was the inspiration behind that song?
Oh man. Just for me, just being in this space, I really feel like an oddball sometimes. When I walk into rooms, when I'm around women that don't necessarily look like me or, around people that don't talk like me or act like me. I'm just kind of weird. And so this song is just for those people that sometimes feel out of place, but it's glorifying the fact that you're out of place and really putting like a celebratory stamp on being different and standing out in those rooms instead of feeling ashamed for it. Because for many years I felt ashamed to be different. And now I think it's one of my best traits. So just encouraging people to speak their own language, walk to the sound of your own drum and that'll bring you through.
Wow, that's a beautiful message. What's next for you in your career?
Oh man, I'm working. I am working. Videos are being shot. My producer and videographer, Windy City on the track. Shout out to my boy. We are always getting together and just creating more content. We've got so many songs in this vault that we are just so eager to put out. But of course, we're not going to throw them out all at once. But they're there and they're waiting. We've got it together. We're creating that content and we're happy about what we're doing. And we're just going to make this push. We're already on 92.3 radio right now.
Wow.
We were featured on Sirius XM, and we got a few more stations coming with the single Same Language. So we're just excited to see what that single will do, and I think it will propel us even further with all the other stuff that we've created. So
You got any upcoming shows?
right now I've really been into like my spoken word
Okay.
phase. I do poetry is actually how I got into music. I think poetry and rap just go hand in hand. I think along the way we kind of lost the connection between the art and the words with the music. So I do have a few spoken word shows that I do pretty frequently. If you guys follow me on IG, I will be putting up those flyers so you guys can come check me out when I do that as well.
Who are some of the artists that you were inspired by?
Oh man, Lil Wayne, Kendrick, J. Cole, Missy, Eminem. It's just a whole plethora of artists. I think about all the music I listened to as a kid and just how exciting it was to hear those lyrics, to have to turn a song back on and listen to it again just to catch a line that you may have missed or a punchline you may have missed. And I feel like a lot of the music today it's very watered down and we don't really have to listen anymore. We kind of just like the beat and okay, there's some words in the background. But I really want to bring back the appreciation for the words. And yeah, that's been my mission for a long time.
I don't know if you follow hip hop news. I've been asking everybody this. There's this artist, his name was Melly Mel, and he said that basically, like, Eminem's not a top 5 rapper because he's white. He's the only reason people consider him a top 5 rapper, is that because he's white. So
Wow. Wow. I get a lot of backlash when I bring Eminem's name into the conversation. But I mean, you cannot deny what that man does
yeah.
lyrically and creatively. And I think race is just it's irrelevant to the amount of of work that he's putting in, and just the level at which he's executing. You have to appreciate talent regardless of, face, gender, whatever. He's doing his thing.
Super talented artist. His early catalog of music is just, it showcases absolute genius, and he still, like, makes like relevant music, like, where I'll check out
Hmm.
songs. But like, I think of like, songs like Murder Murder, that's a really great storytelling record. And like, on par, like, like with the greats, like, I wouldn't say
Hmm.
better than Biggie, like as far as the storytelling, but he's really close. He was like really like, going for like a top tier, you know, even early on. And like, people hate on him. He wrote Stan.
Yeah, yeah, and you just think about, just being a woman. I think I've experienced the hate on that side as well. Like, oh, you're great for a female rapper.
Right.
It's like, what? Why can't I just be a great rapper? Oh, you're great for a white rapper. Like, what? Like, let's just talk about the music. Like, why do we always feel like we have to put everything in subcategories and
Do
stuff
you have
like
a
that?
favorite female rapper?
Myself.
Besides yourself, after that.
um, I always felt Remy Ma, Queen Latifah,
Uh,
Missy Elliott. I think they were some trailblazers in the game. Nikki, I love Nikki. I think Nikki's
yeah.
doing great work. I mean, people may hate me for saying that too, because she stirred up a bit of controversy herself, but you can't deny lyricism, and you just can't deny numbers. So you got to give credit where credit is due.
I met Queen Latifah once. It was the most random
Oh,
thing. Yeah,
dope.
it was the most random thing. I was like in West Hollywood. I was sitting on a bus stop, and then like I see like Queen Latifah. And I go, hey, and she actually waited for me. And like I came over and like I took a picture with her, everything and stuff, everything. She was like, "We gotta do this quick."
Nice.
I'm moving, but yeah, like it was really nice. She waited because she could have just totally just left. She saw
Right.
me and stuff and everything, but like she was really nice. I really appreciate that. I think she's a really incredible artist.
Yeah, that is dope.
As
And
are
her
you.
versatility, her versatility is what I love the most. Singing, the acting, the rapping. She's just everything in a full package. And I think at some point I'd like to aspire to open up my musical palette and try different sounds as well. I also songwrite too, so
Nice.
been trying some R&B, some rock. Just really not wanting to put a limit on the creativity that I have. And yeah, Queen Latifah is definitely someone to look to in that sense for sure.
You sound like you have like some eclectic music tastes. Is there anybody outside of hip hop who like whose music you like?
Hmm. You know, Let me think. I named all my top ones already. Tyler the Creator is different. He's interesting. I like how he plays and does the variations. Drake, honestly, I love Drake because he just does whatever he wants. You're
Yeah.
dropping a house album over here, you got the melodic hip hop here. You just think about all of the nuances that music has, right? And all the messages that you can kind of put out, regardless of how that may sound. I think at the end of the day, the listener needs to be drawn back into the messages. I think we really lost contact with why we love music in the first place. It's not always a heavy hitting 808. There's a lot of beauty in words and storytelling, and I think you know regardless of genre, any artist should be able to execute that.
Right. As a woman, like, we live in like, some weird times, because like, they're passing laws, regarding like, abortion, and like
Hmm.
making it like, more difficult for women in certain states to be able to access abortion. And like,
Yeah,
I wanted to know, like, what are your thoughts about that?
honestly, I dropped a song last year in July entitled Brenda's Response, which talks about that very topic. And it was on my heart to write that song for a really long time, but I was very nervous to put my opinion out there, knowing it's a very controversial topic, and people do get upset when you express opposing views. But I just know that a woman's right to choose is something that I don't think anyone should have the right to take away, or have the right to use in any way. I also think about like children that that may have had to be brought up in a family. Maybe she wasn't ready for this child. Maybe she wasn't financially stable, and then the child uh, gets the repercussions of that. You know, young people having children and they're not ready, and then who suffers? The children. And so I think about, you know, just family and you know, the hard lives that a lot of kids with unfit parents have to experience. And I'd never wish that for anyone. And if there's a way to prevent that kind of trauma from a child, then I think that that's what we need to be thinking about. You know, the detrimental effects that unfit parents can have on children. Yeah.
Wow, that's an amazing answer. Did you ever get any pushback or negative feedback on social media?
Oh, all the time. They hate me.
What's
But I
what's
feel like that's a good thing though.
what's one of the most hateful comments you ever received?
Oh man. So, you know, I dress just based on how I'm feeling. Sometimes maybe I'll have on sweats and a ball cap. Other times I might pop out in some spandex. It really just depends on how I'm feeling that day. So one day you posted like a little cute TikTok on my YouTube, and some person comments because I had on like sweats and like a big t-shirt. He was like, "You do know you're a girl, right?" And my response was, "I'm well aware, thank you." Because I'm like, what the hell was that about? It was just so weird. Like, leave me alone. But go listen to my music. How about that? But yeah, people are rude. I've experienced it a lot, so I'm used to it now.
Do you like, make a cognizant effort, like, not to dress like, sexual on social media, or is that just your personality you feel, or?
You know, I don't think it's a conscious effort. You know, sometimes I'll wear something that I don't think is too sexy, and other people will be like, "Ooh," you know. And I'm like, "What? You think this is sexy? It's just a tank top." You know, I think I don't really dress for other people. You know what I mean? I just put on what I feel, and if people like it, great, and if not, well, great, because either way, I'm just gonna wear it. I do try to make a habit of like not showing too much of myself. I think that, you know, that's something really special, and you don't want to just throw that out on display just all willy nilly. Now, occasionally, it's okay to be a little sexy and show a little skin, but I never want, you know, my physical appearance to put thoughts in anyone's head, or give them a perception about me that isn't true. And so I just really want to fully represent myself in a way that, you know, that people know, oh, this woman needs respect and this woman is beautiful. And I don't think, you know, dressing and really provocative clothing is gonna, you know, make that statement any louder. So
Have you ever been
yeah.
disrespected as a woman?
Um, yeah, all the time.
Really? What
All the
could you give
time.
an example?
Yeah, so you know, I used to manage restaurants before I started doing music. And I had like an all male kitchen staff, and they love to like make comments about my physical appearance, and oh, you're so good looking, and oh, your eyes are so beautiful, and this and that. I'm like, look, guys, aren't we all just here to work, you know?
Right.
And it's hard. It's hard navigating in professional spaces when you look the way you do. But you just have to kind of put your foot down and let it be known that, hey, this is not that. And if you try to make it that, we're gonna have some problems. So just gotta let them know.
Yeah, like I I'm shocked to hear that, like, but not really. I know, like, and stuff that goes on and stuff, and I'm sorry that that happened to you. I think that,
Hmm.
you know, um, men can definitely cross boundaries in like all kinds of spaces, like, from restaurants to music,
Yeah.
it's a really, do you feel things are getting better though? Like, from time, like, especially with the Me Too movement and people becoming more aware.
Yeah, I definitely think things are on the brink of change. And I also think that, you know, women play a role in that too, because we stayed silent for so long when things like that happened, and we felt uncomfortable, and we just kept it to ourselves and kind of hid in the corner about it. But now I think we're feeling more comfortable to be more vocal when we feel disrespected, or when someone comes at us in a way that we don't like. So I think the change is really coming from those women that are, brave enough to speak on those issues and brave enough to call somebody out. So we just got to continue doing that.
Most definitely. I wanted to know, like, what are your thoughts about, like, the red pill community? If you had any, are you familiar with it? You know,
No, no, red pill. I When I hear that, I'm thinking like a night at the club or something.
so it's basically like, they have, like, differing thoughts about, like, society. They believe that society is trying to, feminize men or take away their
Oh,
roles.
wow.
And like, that um, you know, they want men, like, basically to be the leaders of, the family, which, like, isn't something I necessarily disagree with. There's, like, an idea that um men are only looked at because of their value, like what they can add or bring. And so, like, men should
Mm.
really, like, into themselves, as opposed to, like, chasing women. That's, like, the concept, basically.
You know, I think that in this day and age, there's so many variations of what men can be now. And I think we've kind of put like a stereotype or a set standard on how we expect men to behave and how we expect men to portray themselves. And so when you open up, an arena where men that maybe don't feel the most masculine and maybe, maybe they are a little more feminine, we've opened a space for them to feel comfortable to come out and speak on that. And I think it does put fear in people. I think the fear and the I guess the misinformation and not understanding the unknown is what drives people to think that there's like this agenda. But there's these men have been on the planet for as long as we can remember. It's just they never felt comfortable enough to come out and say, "Hey, this is me and this is how I behave." But just because one group of people comes out and speaks about their experiences, I don't think it should affect anybody else. Just because one man may behave a little more feminine than another man, I don't think that takes away from the masculinity of another man. I think we all just need to accept everyone and be comfortable in whatever we're doing as individuals and stop trying to point the finger at everyone else. Yeah.
Yeah. Men aren't a monolith, thank you so much for taking the time. You've been wonderful. I really enjoyed speaking with you.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you for having me. Maybe we could do this again. This was fun.
Most definitely.
That